Okay, we're ready to start. This is going to be position 87 on my calendar today, State of Georgia versus Jordanelle Jamil Williams. Mr. Williams is charged with warrant number 2022 CW 54345 with committing the offense of aggravated assault. He's also charged with warrant number 2022 CW 54346 with committing the offense of murder. Mr. Williams is present here in court. He's represented by counsel. State is also present, and it is represented by Ms. Williams on this case.
Judge, I'm going to be handling this one.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
And I wanted to make an announcement before we started, just so Attorney Mark Jackson wouldn't have to stay on.
Sure.
And it was regarding Danielle Moose. We did discuss this case, and some issues came up, and I did indicate to Attorney Jackson that I would have no objection to a continuance.
Okay. And are you objecting to that, Mr.?
No, Your Honor, not at this time. No, Your Honor.
Okay. So we're going to continue this case. I'm sorry. The calendar is so thick, trying to find a page.
No.
2 weeks, is 2 weeks enough, Attorney Jackson?
Yes, that'd be fine.
Okay, and so if you could place us on 2 weeks continuous, Judge, and then that way Lieutenant St. Jean could be excused, and then the jail could send back Ms. Moose, and they wouldn't have to worry about bringing Ms. Moyer.
Okay.
Okay, so continue.
So that'll be to the 19th. October, 2 weeks is October 19th. So
I don't have an objection with that. I don't. Lieutenant St. Jean is the 19th. Does that work for you?
Yeah, that's fine, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay. You may be excused. You said Lieutenant St. Jean?
Yes.
You may be excused, sir. And Mr. Jackson, you may be excused. And we'll see you all back on the 19th.
Thank you, Judge.
Okay.
Thank you, Judge. And I apologize. I just wanted to make sure that we wouldn't have to keep those individuals on the Zoom.
That's fine. That's fine. Okay. State is here represented by Ms. Freeman. Ms. Freeman, would you please call your witness, swear your witness in and present your case?
Thank you, Judge. Detective Moore, would you raise your right hand, please? Do you swear and affirm that the testimony about to provide in the matter of State of Georgia versus Jordanelle Williams will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Please tell us your name and how you're employed.
I'm Detective Tracy Moore. I'm with the Clayton County Police Department. I am currently in the Criminal Investigation Division. I have been with the department for 8 years. I have been in CID for over 4 years, and I am Georgia Post certified.
Ma'am, I'm sorry. Since working with the Clayton County Police Department, were you assigned an investigation involving Jordanelle Williams?
Yes, ma'am.
Is this regarding an incident that occurred on September 22nd of 2022 at 5771 Trammell Road?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that an apartment complex?
Yes, ma'am.
And was there a specific apartment number that this incident allegedly occurred?
It happened, I guess it started in 10C, but it actually happened in the parking lot in front of 10C.
Did you respond to the scene when this happened?
I responded as a detective. Initially, officers did respond to the scene. Would you like me to tell you what they had? Or
yes, please.
Okay. So I believe Officer Lawrence was the primary, but there were several other officers that responded. And it came out as a domestic and barricaded gunman. When they arrived, they had a 911 call that came in that said that it was from a female, presumably Miss White, that Mr. Williams was taking her property and breaking her phone. The 911 operator indicated that it sounded like a scream and a crash, and then she just heard nothing after that. She heard the like a dinging of a door, as if the door was on a vehicle was open. but she didn't have any contact after that. The officers arrived to find Mr. Williams in the vehicle in the passenger seat. He put a firearm to his head. And they had to give him commands. He finally did comply and put the gun down and get out of the vehicle. He was taken into custody. Miss White was in the vehicle in the driver's seat. She was slumped over almost into the passenger seat, and she clearly had which I observed myself, a wound on her right temple. It was a gunshot wound. It appeared there was stippling around it, so that would indicate it was pretty close range. There were, what I observed in the parking lot and what the officers observed was just maybe just off the curb in front of 10C, there was a broken cell phone in the parking lot. There were 2 shell casings in the parking lot. And then inside the vehicle, there were 2 spent shell casings in the vehicle as well. I observed the 1 wound to her. What I learned after the medical examiner got there, I had already left the scene to go back and interview Mr. Williams. What I observed what I learned later was there was apparently 8 defects in her body. 2 of those would be entry wounds with no apparent exit wound. And then the other 3 would have been possibly entry and exit wounds as well. So it would appear she was shot at least 5 times. And I failed to mention the vehicle wasn't in that place. It was back in the front parking lot further, as if she was trying to, I would assume, trying to flee, but there was clearly a round that went through her hood of her vehicle that she was driving.
Did the defendant make any statements about what happened?
He indicated he wanted an attorney. The only statement that he made to me was that he had gotten a TPO against her. And that's the only thing I recall him saying to me.
Okay. Were there any witnesses to the incident, Detective?
There was no eyewitness to the actual incident. There was a gentleman heard gunshots and he heard the car crash and he looked out to see that Chevy Equinox backing up I'm sorry, I don't believe it was an Equinox. It was a Chevy SUV backing up in the vehicle, in the parking lot. And he knew that it struck his vehicle and at least 1 more vehicle as well. And he called the police as well.
Was he able to give you any information whether there were other individuals involved in this shooting?
I did not speak to him directly. Another officer did, but I believe he just witnessed the actual, right after the crash. But I believe he did see the male sitting in the vehicle with her. So, and I know the officers, when they arrived on scene, they were on scene very quickly. I know he was still seated in the vehicle with the gun with Miss White deceased beside him.
And Detective, at this point, have you all been able to determine whether or not the gun that was found with Mr. Williams is the same gun that was used to shoot Miss White?
It was the only weapon located, so I would presume it is, but no, we're just like a week out or a little over a week out, so we don't have any forensics or anything like that back yet.
Okay. Did all of this happen in Clayton County?
Yes, ma'am, it did.
Thank you. I have no further questions.
Ms. Pleasant?
Thank you. Detective Moore. I'm sorry, this is a parking lot of an apartment complex?
Yes, ma'am.
And what time of day was this?
The call went out, the 911 call came in at 11:29. I know I was out there probably shortly after noon. So I think I got the call a little before noon, but yes, ma'am.
So broad daylight.
Yes, ma'am.
And there were no physical witnesses that came forward?
Not to the actual incident, not to my knowledge, no, ma'am.
Okay. Does this complex have any sort of video surveillance system?
They don't, but we do have, there was a camera across the way that I'm not sure if it captured anything or not. We're still trying to obtain that video.
And to your knowledge, does anyone in that complex have like Ring or Vivint or any of the video door camera systems?
That's what I'm talking about. It was apartment across the way, kind of is a little bit to the right, but I believe from its angle, it may have captured at least part of the incident, but I have not been able to obtain that video at this time yet.
Okay. So describe everything that you've taken into evidence in this case.
We have taken, I believe, the cell phone of Mr. Williams, of Miss White. If you would like, I can flip to the CSI page and I can actually tell you precisely, but I know we took the 4 shell casings and the weapon. It was a high point, and I'm going to flip if you have no objection to me looking at
None,
that.
please do.
Okay. So we've taken 4 spent shell casings, 1 projectile from under the victim's left arm, a kangaroo front door camera from a residence. We took a memory card, another memory card, a box of 9mm full metal jacket ammo, a laptop, a high point 9mm firearm, and like I said, the cell phones, and then I'm still trying to obtain the video from the broken cell phone. I'm trying to obtain the video from the other residents. So that's still to be determined if we can get anything from that.
So who is the owner of the kangaroo front door camera?
That is, I'm honestly not certain, ma'am. That may be that. I'm assuming that would have come from the search warrant. So I'm assuming that would be Mr. Williams.
Okay. And the memory cards are from where?
From the apartment, from his apartment. Yes, ma'am.
The laptop as well?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And have you already executed search warrants on these items, on the memory cards, the laptop, the cell phone?
I have not yet, but I do intend to. But the cell phone would be my priority to see if there was any communication prior to this incident.
And who actually resided in this complex where the shooting took place?
Mr. Williams did. However, Mr. Williams and Miss White did live together in Hampton previously. But as on the lease, it's just him. And from what I understand, he lives there. She used to visit with the children, but from what I understand, it's just his residence.
Okay. And did you investigate his statement regarding the TPO?
I did attempt to, I have not been to the court yet, but I did look on our local system and I did not see that. So I'm going to have to go to the court and try to see about that. But I did find several reports in Clayton County and one in Hampton of prior incidents between the two.
And do those reports indicate who initiated the contact with police?
The one in Hampton, I believe, was Miss White, and from what I remember, I believe Mr. Williams did on the ones at the residence where he lives from that address.
Okay, but to your knowledge, there's no evidence that Miss White was served with a TPO at this point?
From what I can see in our local system, I can't see that. No, ma'am.
Okay. And how many officers were on scene? Do you recall?
I know it was more than that, but the primary ones that I remember were 1 sergeant and 2 officers.
On CCPD?
Yes, ma'am. I do believe a Lake City officer responded out there to help, but I don't even know that officer. I wouldn't know their name. I don't know if they did a report or anything, but
okay.
As far as I know, it was all CCPD.
To your knowledge, the officers, the sergeant and the other 2 officers, were they wearing body-worn cameras?
Yes, ma'am. They should have been on and recording. Yes, ma'am.
So their initial contact with Mr. Williams would be on the video?
It should be. Yes, ma'am.
So did you interview anyone familiar with the two parties with regards to this case?
I did interview Miss White's, one of the father of one of her children. He had a little bit of knowledge. I can, you want me to tell you what he told me, or?
If it's relevant to this case, yes, I want to.
So he did send me a few videos and texts where Mr. Williams was threatening Miss White, and in one he actually threatened to kill her, and another one he apparently picked up some Waffle House for her and urinated in the orange juice that he picked up for her and spit in the eggs and kind of mixed them up. And
So these are
on
in a video.
these are in a video. This is a something prior that happened before. I'm not even sure when it happened, but it was from his phone number, and he said something to the effect of, I can't remember, it was something about you bitch, something you bitch, and I can't remember exactly what those
And
words
how did you
were.
confirm that those videos originated from his phone?
It's through Messenger, so it shows the phone number. So I mean, we'll do a search warrant of his phone and see what we can find, but as far as I can tell, it would be from his phone because it shows a phone number on there.
And these videos and text messages, those are now in evidence as well?
Yes, ma'am. They've been placed. We put that kind of evidence on what's called a veil, and it's the same system as a body worn, but it's a different spot of it. But yes, it's on a veil as evidence. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you, Detective Moore.
Yes, ma'am.
That's all I have.
No additional questions, Judge. State rest.
Okay, may Detective Moore be excused?
Yes, Your Honor.
Detective Moore, you are free to go, or you could stay. It's up to you. Okay.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Ms.
And Your Honor,
Pleasant.
the defense will rest as well, and
Okay.
I will submit on the testimony.
Okay. I'm going to find, based upon what I heard, that there's sufficient evidence for this case to get bound over to the Superior Court of Clayton County for a trial. I understand you're free to go, Detective.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Thank you, Detective.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
And I understand you wanted to do Mr. Winford.
Yes, yes, AD Williams has that. And then also, Officer Pounds is still on. His defendant did a bond waiver. I wanted to make sure that he can be excused, as well as Officer Rollins, if he could be excused as well.
And Judge, I'm back on Mr. Winford.
Okay.
Judge,
yes.
excuse me. So I don't normally do this. Normally I stay to the end, but today is my birthday. So may I please be excused? I have concluded my business with the court.
Happy birthday. If I knew that, I would have made you go last.
I didn't tell you.
That's
Yeah.
what throw it out. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yes, Ms. Freeman, I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
have a good rest of your day.
Thank
Ms.
you.
President. Officer Rollins, based upon the announcement from Ms. Freeman, you are free to go. And Ms.
Your Honor.
Freeman, yes.
I had 3 gentlemen that were arrested that night. One was Kobe Billings. It was Jaquez Durant, and there was a third one. And I had got, I think, 3 different subpoenas. I just want to make sure they're all clear before I left.
Okay, Durant is going to be a hearing.
Okay, so if he's still on, so definitely he could. Then Officer Rollins would need to stay.
Yes. Oh, and at the jail, could we bring up Mr.
And so Billings is out on bond, Rollins, and so we'll let you know when your hearing